Okay, the existence of God. Now, understand this. The existence of God can be proved by reason without the aid of revelation. Now, what this means is the existence. The particulars, some of them cannot be derived with unaided reason, or reason unaided by divine revelation. While we can prove by reason alone that God exists, you can't, for example, prove that the Trinity exists. That had to be revealed to us. But the existence of the one God can be proved. And we'll go on to do that 5 times, as a matter of fact. In the arguments which are developed here, no mention is made of the Bible or the opinion of any religious leaders or the tenets of any church or sect. So nothing of any kind of real or proposed revelation is necessary for these arguments. If these never existed, one could still prove that God exists. Man has an intellect or mind, and with this intellect alone, he can prove that there is a God. Man is not born with a clear and precise knowledge of God. God's existence is not self-evident to us as certain principles, such as the whole is greater than any of its parts, are self-evident. We cannot grasp the knowledge of God's existence in such immediate fashion. If we know that he exists, then a chain of reasoning must precede this conclusion. His existence must be proved and demonstrated. It cannot be presumed. So we're really starting with the foundation here. There are 2 reasons why we say that God's existence is not self-evident to us. A truth which is self-evident cannot be denied by anyone. But the existence of God is denied by atheists. Therefore, it is not self-evident. St. Thomas shows that when a statement is self-evident, the predicate must necessarily be included in the subject. Remember diagramming sentences? Anybody do that? It was brilliant. It helps really when you're learning another language, because all of a sudden you know where the subject and predicate and all the modifiers and dangling participles and things are on it. So, for example, the statement, the whole is greater than any of its part, is self-evident because in knowing the meaning of the subject whole, we immediately see that it includes the predicate part. To be self-evident, the meaning of the terms of these propositions must be known to all. But this cannot be said of our knowledge of God, for all men do not always have a clear notion of the meaning of the term God. For many it is confused, for some it is meaningless. Therefore the existence of God is not self-evident to us. To possess this knowledge, demonstration is necessary. So, a very clear example is one we just mentioned a little while ago. If you talk to a Mormon and you talk about the word God, their notion of that will be very, very much different in most ways from your definition of what God actually is. There are 5 basic proofs for the existence of God. It is true that they have certain characteristics in common. Each proof proceeds from an effect to a cause, from the received to the unreceived. But this does not mean that there are 5 ways of stating a single proof, that they are 5 ways of stating a single proof, or that one derives added cogency from another. Each is complete in itself. So each one of these proofs can be used independently. St. Thomas Aquinas gives us 5 just to make it kind of overwhelming sort of thing. Well, if you don't get this one, you'll get that one. And if you don't get that one, you'll get the other one. And hopefully you'll get at least one of the 5, if not all 5. So, in each proof for the existence of God, the point of departure is different, and therefore the being whose existence each proof establishes will be seen under a different aspect. This makes for the distinctive character of each of the 5 ways. Notice how the starting points are different. In the world about us, we see things as they are moved, as they are caused, as they do not have to exist, as they exhibit limited perfection, and as they serve a purpose. Hint, hint, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With these as starting points, we can forge chains of reasoning, the conclusions of which are that there exists a being who is the prime mover, the first efficient cause, the necessarily existent one, the source of all perfection, and the supreme intelligence, and this being we call God. So another thing to understand before we get into the proofs of God is that it will use reasoning to describe a person in the end, okay, or something that does something. And that person or the thing that is at the end of the chain of the reasonings, we call that God. Okay? That, whatever you want to call me, it will lead you through a line of reasoning, and then it'll get to the end, and whatever you want to call that being, that's God, and we call him God, and you can call him by some other name, but that's what we are referring to is God, is that one. So when we take you through the proofs, and we get to that being at the end of them, we've proven the existence of what we call God. Keep that in mind. So, the first then is the proof from motion. The first way to prove the existence of God is called the proof from motion. From the fact that there are things in the world which move, or even things outside the world which move. I mean, all the planets and stars and gas and asteroids and comets, there's loads of motion in the universe, and the astronomers are talking about it all the time. So, from the fact that there are things in the world and outside of the world which move, it can be shown that there must be a first mover who is God. The points of this argument are briefly developed in the following paragraph. No one reasonably disputes the fact that there are things which move. One sees a bird in flight, a meteorite hurtling through space, an ocean liner plying its way across the sea. There are hundreds of examples of things moving. Instances of objects moving from place to place are all around us. But in this proof for the existence of God, motion means more than movement from place to place. Okay, that's important. It means something more than just going from here to there as movement. Carefully notice its meaning here. A thing is said to be in motion when it is gaining or acquiring something which it did not have before. I'll add the word before there, okay? So if something is gaining or acquiring something which it did not have before, we're calling that motion. Okay, now in the instance of simple motion as we're talking about it, what is it gaining or acquiring? Well, it's gaining and acquiring a distance from where it used to be, for example. But there are many different ways of gaining or acquiring something that you don't have before. If you're aging, you're gaining years, and so you're in motion, even if you're sitting still, as it were. And so we're all aging. So we're all in motion according to that definition. A thing is said to be in motion when it is gaining or acquiring something which it did not have. Therefore, when a person is acquiring knowledge, he is moving. When he is advancing in age, he is moving. When a plant is growing, it is moving. To further illustrate this, when an acorn is growing into an oak tree, it does not move to another place, but its growth in height and size is an example of a thing in motion. In all the instances listed, the thing was in the process of acquiring a perfection which it did not have, and so it was moving. A thing cannot be in motion and at the same time be at rest. This is impossible. When it begins to move, it is no longer at rest. When it comes to rest, it is no longer in motion. Rest is the absence of motion. But if an object which is now at rest is to acquire motion, from where is it to acquire it? Very philosophical. So, if something is not in motion, but is going to be in motion, where is it going to acquire the motion? It can't move, it can't acquire motion by itself. It certainly cannot give this motion to itself, for as it does not yet possess it. So you can't give to yourself something you don't have. It can receive motion only from some other object which already has it. Object A is an object at rest. If A is to move, it must receive motion from B. Well, let's say, you're playing pool, right? And if you're going to make that ball go over there, the 8 ball in the corner pocket, and it's sitting there, you have to give it motion by something which is in itself in motion. It has to acquire motion from something which possesses it. A cannot give itself motion because being at rest, it is devoid of motion. If B, which now gives motion to A, was also at rest at one time, then it received motion from C. C received it from D, and so forth, to the beginning of the series. So once again, the game of pool, it doesn't matter how many balls you line up and manage to hit with one single swipe of the cue stick, which sets them all in motion. You have to go back to something that moved everything. Things imparted motion that they had to other things. But going back, there has to be something then where they all got the motion from. That's what he's saying. So A can't give itself motion because it's at rest and it's devoid of motion. B, which now gives motion to A, was also at rest at one time. Then it received motion from C. C received it from D, and so forth, to the beginning of the series. So the beginning of the series means the first one that its motion came from. Okay? Where did motion originally take its rise? It was certainly not derived from any single mover in the series or from all the movers of the series taken together. The reason for this is that the movers taken individually or as a group still have but received motion. So all the pool balls, all their motion, all the ones that received motion, received it from something. They didn't originate motion. Extending the series endlessly into the past does not make it responsible for the motion which is transmitted. It is necessary to arrive at a first mover, which is set in motion by no other, and this everyone understands to be God. God, then, is a being outside the series of movers. He did not receive the power to move from anyone. He is the first mover, who acts by himself, who in his own action and consequently his own being for operation follows being, and the mode of operation the mode of being. The prime mover must be pure act, and hence he must be the self-subsisting being. So the first mover, as you go back in the series of this received motion from that and this from something else, when you follow that all the way back, there has to be a being who possessed motion to give, but did not receive it from anyone else. If he received it from something else, then you have to go back in the series further. So you follow the philosophical series all the way back to the one who imparted motion, because they had the motion to give. And we call that, this is also called the unmoved mover. or subsistent, self-subsistent being. That means and a being who owes its existence to itself, and it is existence. So if we can call every created thing in motion, then the thing that created it or whatever gave it motion to begin with has to be the uncreated one who had the creation to impart to who gave creation to one and pass it on from there. Okay, so we'll take our little break now.